Hey friends, if you have been tuning in for my recent LED flow videos, you'll know that I've been using a new technique that I am super excited about to get trails in my footage. Today I want to share with you how exactly I'm doing it to help you get the exact same effect in your videos if you want it. Drex here from Drex Factor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain, and today I'm going to share with you my new favorite method for getting ghost trails on my LED poi footage. Before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Flow Fests, Flow Toys, Juggling Calling, Pyroterra Light Toys, Spinballs, and Ultra Poi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all of these amazing businesses and what they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I have down in the description of this video. And special thanks to non-business friends of the channel, Johnny Howard, Lane Wachinsky, and Pekka Pekkonen. Thank you so very much for your support for my work and my mission. A whole lot of people have been asking me lately about that effect that I've been using recently in my LED poi videos. You know the ones, the videos where I'm spinning poi that display graphics by flashing LEDs on and off in different colors to produce pictures in their trails. This is an effect that anyone who has seen them in person will doubtlessly have found fascinating, but that is notoriously difficult to capture effectively on video. And you know what? I recently had a breakthrough in how I shoot and edit these videos, so I want to take you through my process as it exists currently to help you make your own videos like this if you want to. To start off with, I do need to say that it takes some more specialized equipment to create these kinds of videos. In particular, you're going to get the best results if you have access to a camera that gives you control over the frame rate, aperture, shutter speed, and exposure settings of the camera, as well as LED lighting panels and a computer running Adobe After Effects, Premiere Pro, or Final Cut Pro. If you are missing any individual one of these pieces, it may make it difficult to repeat my results. The good news is that it's pretty easy to find camera stores where you can rent some of this equipment if you'd like to take the plunge. Google camera rental in your area and see what pops up. Once you do get a hold of all the equipment you need, here's the step-by-step on how to achieve the same effect that I have. So our first step is the camera. I've done this both with a DSLR as well as my mirrorless Sony a6500. You need pretty precise control over the frame rate of the camera, its shutter speed, and its exposure settings. You want to set your shutter speed equal to your frame rate. Basically, that means that your camera will be collecting light for the entire duration of the frame it is recording. If it stops collecting light at any point in recording the frame, you're gonna wind up with gaps in your trails. Traditionally, this has created some problems for me because most of my videos with trails have been shot at 30 frames per second, which is pretty standard for the internet. But it also means that the results can be kind of blurry. There's something in the film world referred to as the 180-degree shutter rule. That is, you want your camera to only be collecting light for half the length of the frame to get a crisper and more clearly defined picture of whatever's moving in it. To get good trails with LED poi or fire poi, you need to use a 360-degree shutter, or set the shutter speed equal to the frame rate. But that means that you lose that crisp image. And especially with how much I dance in my videos, shooting in this manner would frequently mean that my body was super blurry in the resulting footage. But there's a way that we can fake a 180-degree shutter. Rather than shooting at 30 frames per second, I've instead been shooting at 60 frames per second and setting my shutter speed equal to that. So when eventually I do export it at a lower frame rate, it's like I've kind of found a backdoor route into that 180-degree shutter rule. So the TLDR here is to shoot at 60 frames per second with the shutter speed set at either 1/60 or 360 degrees, depending upon how your camera presents this setting. You also want your exposure settings as low as you can get them and still just be able to make out your performer. On this score, I highly recommend investing in a couple LED panels to illuminate your performance area. This will help you keep your exposure settings low enough that you still get lots of detail out of your LED props without the performer becoming underexposed. As for exposure settings, in general, I find that if you're shooting at anything above ISO 500, you're going to start to lose some color detail in the trails because they'll wind up so overexposed that they wash out into white. Also, your aperture should be as wide open as you can get it to collect as much light as possible. Once you've shot your performer doing their thing, you'll bring your footage into the editing program of your choice and create 2 layers of the same footage in a new project and make it so only the top layer is visible to start with. Super important! Make sure that this new project, like your original footage, is set to 60 frames per second. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with gaps in your trails. Don't worry, this isn't the final version of your footage, it's just an intermediary stage. You're going to apply two effects to the top layer. The first one is a Luma key, meaning that you'll make everything in the footage that is below a certain level of illumination transparent. This can be done using either the Extract plugin in Adobe Premiere or After Effects, or the Luma Keyer in Final Cut Pro. You'll want to tweak this effect to capture as much of the LED prop's light as possible while eliminating as much of the performer and background as you can. This can take a little bit of work to find a happy balance for, and can involve changing the range of light in the footage the keyer is using, as well as how soft the edges of the effect are. I'll confess that I have a slight preference for using this tool in Final Cut, because it gives you access to a few more settings and is a bit more flexible, but honestly, either one will work. Once you've got this as close as you can to finding this happy medium, you'll add a second effect to actually add the trails to the prop. In Adobe Premiere and After Effects, this is the Echo plugin, and in Final Cut Pro, it is the Trails effect. In both cases, you're going to need to dial in some pretty specific settings to get the trails the right intensity and length for what you want to do. Here's how you do that with each program. In Premiere and After Effects, you'll want to start with the following settings. Echo time is -0.16 seconds, and echo operator is maximum. From here, you're going to need to tweak things to find your ideal trail length. I usually find that less is more here, so I'll have the number of echoes set around 15 or 20 and the decay set somewhere between 0.6 and 0.7. Really, I'm looking for around 8 segments of the trail to be visible and for there to be no clear cutoff. The trail should just kind of fade away because I find that longer trails tend to distract from the performer and start to get a little confusing for flow. Things get a little trickier in Final Cut because the trails effect is one that I find to be a little bit less intuitive to use. Make sure that trail is set on light. Again, I'm looking for about 8 segments to the trails, so I'll use that as the number for echoes and then just move the slider for duration back and forth until all the gaps close up. This still isn't exactly a science necessarily. I should also mention at this point that there's a really weird glitch in Final Cut Pro when it comes to the trails effect. At least there is for me. For some reason, after a minute's worth of footage, the effect will then loop. Rather than putting trails on the current position of the light it's working from, it'll instead restart where they originally were at the start of the footage. This bug is baffling to me, but I do have a workaround. That top layer of footage that has the Luma Keyer and echo effect on it, I just insert a cut in that top layer of footage every minute. The downside is that it means that there's like 1 frame every minute where the trails disappear. But in watching the resulting footage on my own, I've never been able to spot that frame without looking at the timestamp, and I doubt any of you have spotted it either. Whether editing in After Effects, Premiere, or Final Cut, the next step is to render that project at 60 frames per second, and then import the resulting file into a new project that's 30 or 24 frames per second. The result? A nice crisp body with the same trails we all know and love that you can now color grade and edit as you see fit. It's the best of all worlds, and even better, you can use it for slow motion or speed ramping effects if you want. Super useful. It's certainly a process, but I for one think it's worth it given the results that I've been seeing out of it for the past 2 months. So obvious question. Can you do this with other equipment? Can you do all of this just on your phone, for example? And the answer honestly is no. You can get trails on your footage using smartphone apps like AR FlowArts, but you're going to wind up with either a blurry body or gaps in your trails. The only way to get this specific outcome is with equipment and software that gives you this level of control. Sorry, but them's the breaks. Do you have other questions as to how I've achieved this effect or suggestions as to how to get around some of the steps in it? I'd love to hear them. Leave me a comment and let me know. Did you get anything out of this video? Please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to help other people find it and to help my channel grow. This video would not be possible if not for the wonderful support of all of these amazing people right here. These are my Flow patrons over on Patreon, and they, along with the people listed down in the description, help to make this video and all the videos on my channel possible. Thank you one and all for your support. Do you like my videos? Do you like my flow sessions, vlogs, reviews, combos, and more? I'm on a mission to bring poi spinning and flow art to the wider world and help people connect with their brains and their bodies. So help me do it. Head on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and sign up. You can do that either at the link in the description or the card that just popped up if you're watching on YouTube. There you can get access to a whole host of rewards and help me along in my mission. Do check that out. Please and thank you. Hey y'all, use this information to go out there and make some pretty videos and make sure to tag me. I want to see all of the awesome stuff that comes out of sharing this information. I'll leave links to some other videos I've done on this topic before down in the description, as well as up on screen if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Make sure to get out and flow today, and I'll see you with a new video on Wednesday. Peace.